Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodities update, technical analysis. I'll give you my financial opinion, start with the dollar, 10-year yield, and work our way through. And we'll start right now. So here's the dollar, the DXY. I call it the relative strength indicator. And we were up today, 0.78%. We've got a little bit of resistance through this section through here. We've used it as support, hit it as resistance. Are we going to break through it, head back up to this level up here, and then go lower? Are we going to break through this entire thing? That's all unknown at this time. If we were to kind of back out, this is a major resistance level here. We've hit it a couple times in history. And we're coming up, we're hitting our head on it right now. We've pulled on back from it, and now we got to see which way we're going to go. Now, a weaker DXY usually is a part of a commodity boom. We had it in 2001 at the top here, where we pulled on up, and then we started going lower. Are we at that point where we are going to turn back lower like 2002? That is what I'm trying to figure out here. At least what I am trying to discern. If this continues to go higher, I think that it is a function of the market being afraid that we could go higher because of a recession and that people are transferring into the dollar. If this goes lower, I think the recession's behind us and we'll see commodities take off. At least that's kind of my general thought. But right now, we'll have to see which way this thing breaks. It's kind of just moving sideways with a stronger day today. The 10-year yield is heading a little bit lower. It's not a reversal candlestick in here. We've got these three big bad candlesticks here, which are all pointing to a higher yield. So even though we were down a little bit today, the candlestick is quite small, and it's not a gigantic selling pressure day like this bearish engulfing is there. So we were lower today, but it's just a regular down day. It's not a reversal candlestick that I see. And if you notice, TLT was basically flat today, 0.09%. So they gapped higher and then it sold off throughout the day. Still looks like to me that bonds could go lower, yields could go higher. The CRB index did sell off a little bit today, getting a little bit of selling pressure. We do have this broken downtrend, and we've got a support line coming up through the bottom here, hitting the bottoms of all these somewhere in this general vicinity if it wants to pull back to that level. It very well could pull back to that level. This could be an A, B, C correction. And what that means is that we get this is A here, B is up here, and then C will be somewhere in this vicinity. And then we'll kind of pull up here into a corner, and maybe it comes back down into this region where C is at. And then I think the correction could be done. Looking at gold, gold getting a little bit more selling pressure today, down $22. We're still above the trend line break. We're still above the long-term support. So we've broken the trend lines and support lines to the upside. We still have support underneath us. We've got silver down day today, but we've broken out of that trend line. We've got resistance, stronger resistance up here at 21. Good strong support at like 18, 15. We are between those two. Platinum selling off today as well. This could head a little bit lower. It's a pretty big selling pressure day. We are still within this bigger pattern on top of another large pattern. So it's a pattern within a pattern. XAU to gold ratio, zooming in there, it is hanging in there. It's just moving sideways. Still broken out on its downtrend. Still looks good to me, even though it's a down day today. GDX, looking at the ETF, down day today, but the momentum was coming back up throughout the day. Broken downtrend line, still looking okay down here, like it's trying to put in some sort of bottom here. We do have a lot of support in this vicinity here, below it. And there's a lot of support even in this vicinity here. All through this little section in here, we've got lots of buying and selling pressure. That is going to act as support. And SILJ, same thing. We've got some good buying and selling support all through this vicinity, kind of right where it's at. And looking at the dailies, we were down today, but the momentum's heading back higher, broken downtrend line. It still looks all right. Just delete that out real quick. Coming on down to crude oil. Crude oil started the day pretty hellacious. It was a stronger selling day. Now, this line isn't perfectly drawn in. It's probably more on the lines of somewhere like that, right where it's at. But we're right here at support for oil. We have a wick at the bottom. So the sellers tried selling it down. Buyers came in and bought it on this support line. Is this support line going to hold? We'll find out. We'll find out here. Are we going to get that larger fall pullback in natural gas and oil? Kind of between summer driving season and winter heating season. That's yet to... We'll see what happens here. I'm not going to say anything. I want to see what the action does. If we get a bigger pullback, our next support levels... I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit more here. Our next support levels, if you look across, it looks like we've got some support through here at about $75, kind of coming through this region in here. Hopefully I drew that kind of... There's some support through 65 to 75. Somewhere in that range, there's a good amount of support through there. So there's a lot of support there if we were to break below that support line right here. Natural gas, it was actually weirdly up today. I saw it sell off throughout the day, and then it ended up 1%. Is this guy going to break higher? Just break out of here? Again, guys, I'm not the short term. I don't think anyone knows this to the T. Like, they're not going to know. But when looking at the pattern, I would say there's a probability that it could. We do have a lot of buying pressure up on this, in this region here. Lots of tall candlesticks, lots of buying pressure. We can see that there's a lot of selling pressure in this area. We entered this area before, sold off. Entered this area before, turned back. And now we're going to see if we can enter this area and hold and go through that area to the upside. That's what I'm looking for, to see if we can hold through there. XOP, yeah, you know me. This is the ETF. If it wants to load. The ETF here, we started off way down. It gapped down throughout the beginning of the day. But throughout the day, it was bought and purchased back up. We could see that if we look at the 5-day. You could see the gap down here. This is the gap down. Then it sold off, and then we were bought back up throughout the day. That is bullish that we bought back up. The sellers tried to push this thing lower, and the buyers came in and bought it back up. So XOP has momentum coming to the upside throughout the day, and we'll see where this ends up. I think it's highly dependent on what oil does. And oil is right at support, so we have to see if that support line holds. Looking at the energy service companies ETF, again, we gap lower, but buyers bought it back up throughout the day. You could see the large gap lower here. And then it ran down, and then we came back up throughout the day. Momentum is higher. So that's what I'm seeing. On OIH, still looks good. We're between resistance and support level. Looking at this uranium futures, we are still chopping sideways here, right in the tip of this guy. We're right in the tip here. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust is also chopping sideways. We're trying to find support in this general vicinity. You can see this support line through here. Oops. This one is what I was trying to grab. That's a support line in that general vicinity. and everything's still okay. URNM, yeah, a little bit of a sell-off today. Momentum was coming back up throughout the day. Broken downtrend line above support, still looks good. And then we got CCJ. It sold off in the morning, but was bought back up throughout the day. Broken downtrend line. Everything still looks fine to me. Nothing's reversed. Nothing's heading lower at this point. I mean, it was lower today, but it doesn't look like it's a blowout going lower. Looking at TAN still looking quite strong, just moving sideways today. We've still broken out of this pattern here, the downtrend line broken to the upside. It could roll over a little bit. Tough to say in the short term, but everything still looks good there. As long as we're above this trend line, I still think it looks good. COPX, a little bit of selling pressure here today. We gap lower, but then the buyers came in and bought it up throughout the day. Still looks good. And I know everybody, so for me to say that this looks bad, this really has to break lower. You gotta break below this support line. You really gotta head lower. I'd say it's gonna take $25 for me to say that this looks really bad. Right now, I mean, anything above this line looks pretty good to continue higher. You've got support underneath us. We've got a higher high. It still looks pretty good. Scrolling down to the rare earth metals ETF, sideways day to day. Momentum is heading higher. Buyers came in and bought it up throughout the day. Lithium still looking good. We've broken the trend line here, and we've been rocketing on up. So that looks pretty good. The SPX, S&P 500, I threw in a couple of trend lines here. Here's a trend line and a trend line, just to show you kind of what's happening and what we have to break next. The S&P 500 is coming up, and it's going to try to break through this trend line up there. Will it break through it? Not exactly sure. And then we've got U.S. Composite Index, which I also drew the same lines, and this is breaking to the upside. When everyone's a bear, that's usually when the bulls come out and stomp on the bear's face. So there's a lot of people bearish the market right now. Everybody's screaming crash. That's usually when the market goes up. Just the way it is. But this looks good to continue higher. Finish strong, looks strong. And no, I'm not going to change my position on commodities into any of these. I still think commodities look great. Looking at XHB, it's still acting good. This is the Home Builders ETF. It's broken through that downtrend line, and it's just continuing higher. Still on its game there. Lumber moving sideways, still looks good to go higher. I don't see too much selling pressure here, so that looks good. Cocoa futures continue to move sideways above its broken downtrend line. Looks good to go higher over time. Wheat still grinding sideways, but I would favor it to the upside. I think it's going to go higher. We've got soybeans. Yeah, it's a sell-off, but we are basically contracting in a pattern here that's developing. This did enter from the top side down, so we have to, be careful which way this thing breaks. It could break to the downside because we entered from the top side. Corn still moving sideways. We're kind of in this trading range here. And then we've got copper. Copper was down today. A little bit of fear in the market, even though stocks were up. But we're coming on up. Little selling pressure today. I don't know if it really means too much. We'll find out. Little wick at the bottom. Buyers came in and bought it up throughout the day. MU, the agriculture ETF, just a small down day with the momentum going higher. Still looks good. Everything looks good there. Aluminum, kind of zoom out. We're just basing in this general vicinity right above its support line. I think that still looks good. I don't think it's going to head lower. We're just at support. And then the Baltic Dry Index did go down today. Some of the companies kind of mixed. Well, not really too mixed. But we were down today in Baltic Dry Index. Looks like there's recessionary fears, or at least fears of things happening in China. So that's what I see today, guys. I'm still a bull. I still am riding and holding on to my companies. And I'm just watching oil. That's probably my largest holding, oil and natural gas. I'm just watching it at its trend line. I'm not going to be selling anything in the short term. Even if we were to have a larger pullback in the markets, I'm still going to ride through it. I don't think it's going to be a huge deflationary crash. We could have a pullback or a small recession that could be in the cards. Looks like we already have 2 down quarters. So that's my viewpoint. And I don't know if I sold it, what the heck I would necessarily buy. I don't think I'd run into bonds. I don't want to hold dollars. There's nothing really there to entice me to hold something else. So commodities is still the player in town here. They still look good. We're in a pullback. We've broken that pullback. And now we're just trying to gain some traction. If you guys like the analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Subscribe to the website. The Platinum membership's the membership that I would choose. Gains you access to everything on the website. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Hopefully you have a good day. This is Finding Value.